afternoon. I hope you'll join me in singing or in receiving this song, this prayer, this affirmation that all we need is to be here. I don't have to know where I'm going. I just need to be here. I just need to be here. I just need to be here. I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to love now. I just need to love now. I just need to love now. I don't need to have all the... I just need to trust now. Yeah. I'm trusting. One more time. I just need to trust now. I don't need to run from myself now. I just need to drop down. I just need to drop down into the arms of love, into the arms of love. 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 We don't need to know. We don't need to know where we're going. We're all here together. We're all here together. We're all here together. We don't need to have all the answers. We just need to love now. We just need to love now. We just need to love now. We don't need to close every door now. We just need to reach out. We just need to reach out and fall into the arms of love. Into the arms of love. Into the arms of love. Into the
beautiful. Thank you so much. I love that.
Right. I'm gonna pick it up a little. Join how your body is asking you to join in this music.
When I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Yes, I do. This is how I start my day, knowing good is on the way. I am claiming perfect health. Yes, I am. Love and laughter, friends and wealth. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Yeah, I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Put your hands together, say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Please welcome Reverend Jean. Good afternoon, Reverend Jean Bell.
How y'all doing today? I got 2 books.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jean Bell. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the Associate Minister here. I so proudly serve as the Associate Minister here, and I love each and every one of you, and I'm so glad to see you. All right. I'm happy that you're joining us today. And if you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube Live, please like and share this message with a friend so that we can continue to spread the good news of New Thought out into the world. If this is your first time joining us, please see a member of our welcome team in the lobby after service so that they can greet you with a special gift. All right, please join me now in saying our monthly affirmation. I'm going to read it all the way through, and then I'm going to ask you to join me in saying it. All right, here I go. I rise to meet the new day, filled with confidence and strength. I rise and go forth into the new dawn, inspired and refreshed by the living Spirit within me. All right, can we say that all together?
Yes.
All right, here we go. I rise to meet the new day, filled with confidence and strength. I rise and go forth into the dawn, inspired and refreshed by the living Spirit within me. And so it is. All right, I'm going to do announcements now. Hold on. Hello, everyone. My name is Jean Bell, and I'm the Associate Minister here. All right. We're going to have a lot of opportunities, great opportunities to connect, grow, and serve and give at SLCA. For more information about today's announcements and other opportunities, please scan the QR code found on your monitor. All right, visioning is key to our spiritual growth. If you haven't joined this class, it started last week, and it's not too late. I'm guiding you through a 6-week accredited course this Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. You can register today to reserve your space. Are you curious about certain spiritual practices or content, but have few opportunities to discuss with like-minded people? Today, after our food and fellowship, we will continue the monthly discussion group exploring topics that may be hard to discuss with your friends and family. SLCA practitioner Tony Jenkins is ready to answer your questions. Join us and let's talk about it. On March the 24th, Reverend David will continue a 10-part, 10 core concepts of the Science of Mind series during our New Thought Education Workshop Hour. Reverend David invites you to explore these concepts which can change your life. Now, everybody, save the date for our annual town hall meeting. We'll have an important town hall meeting after service during our social hour on April the 14th. Please plan to attend. All right, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to visiting with you after service in the social hall for snacks and fellowship. And remember, you belong.
This is for women. Women, we come in all shapes and sizes and colors. Sometimes we don't come into the world being thought to be women. We are expansive. If that connects to you in any way, the feminine spirit in you, or if woman is a part of who you are, this is a blessing for you. Soul sister, I so believe in you. Soul sister,
Oh, sister, I know the earth in you. So, sister, you are strong and wild. Oh, sister, what can I say or do? I am here with you, and I will see you through to the other side. Oh, I hold out your hand to crumble to the earth, whatever it takes for you to thrive. Your body knows like a river flows, and she will see you through to the other side. It's my sister Penelope. So, sister, I so believe in you. So, sister, you are strong and wild. Oh, sister, whatever you're going through, I am here with you, and I will see you through to the other side. I am here with you, and I will see you through to the other side. One more time, I'm here with you. I am here with you, and I will see you through to the other side. So it is.
Lelena Romero. What a beautiful song. Thank you, Lelena. Open your mind, unfold your heart, relax your senses, feel every part. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound. Breathe every breath. Release your cringe. Love without waiting, without waiting. Slowly unhinge. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound.
heart is open and I hear every word of the music. I hear the intent in my heart of today's service, of the people who come here and give of themselves to make this happen. I'm grateful for every person who brought this service together, and I am indeed energized. I wake up in the morning knowing that I am more than enough. The doubts that I may have, the depression I may have felt, the lack I may have seemingly experienced, that's not my truth. My truth is something greater, and I embrace it. I take it in on a cellular level. Whatever lack I thought I had, I know it's not the truth. I accept something greater now. I accept and expect, absolutely, that wonderful things are happening to me day by day, that I bring light to situations, that I bring love to situations, that the wisdom that I have to share is heard by those who need to hear it. I know that there is more than enough in this world of everything, of knowledge, of wisdom, of food, of clean air, clean water. And I know that my focus on the experience of a greater life for everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond, for every being on this earth and beyond, for every molecule, there is greater expression of health, of love. I know that there is so much more to experience, and I let go of any limitations that I thought were mine. I know, and I know that I know, that which I accept is mine, and I accept greater and greater experiences. I know that this does not mean that every moment is a constant joy, but I know that in every moment, joy is possible and joy is present. And as much as is possible in every moment, I experience that joy. I am the light of the world for myself, radiating out to others, and I see their light. I choose in every moment when I want to criticize, when I want to complain, when I want to think that someone else is responsible for my experience, I choose to see the light. I choose to be the light. I choose to remind myself every moment of the light within me, which is the living spirit within me. I know that this light so shines. And I know that it is possible for each of us to know this for each other, for a greater experience, for a greater world. There is peace in this world, and I choose to expand my knowledge of it. I refuse to believe that we must have anything less than peace and abundance and joy and love. And I am grateful for every teacher who helped me to understand this and to leave the past behind and live in this present moment where my power is. And so I simply breathe, knowing that in each breath, I am breathing the breath of God. God is breathing in as and through me with an intelligence I don't have to guide and direct. So for this, I have a grateful heart, a grateful mind, and a loving nature. And knowing there is no opposition to this because I choose to allow none, I simply know that this is already in the law, becoming my experience more and more with each passing moment. I'm so grateful for everyone here today, for our Reverend David, our teams who put so much together, for Reverend David's family. We thank him for sharing him with us. So with joy I simply say namaste, aloha, blessed be, amen, shalom, and if you care to join, and so it is.
You can't stop waiting for love to find you. Look inside your heart. Love's already who you are. Amen. So lift up your voice. Let it be heard. Tell me your story, tell it to me. Don't leave out a word. I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound. Amen. Yeah. So it is. Thank you, Reverend Susan.
This song is a demonstration of the collective and our own power being connected. There's going to be some oohs, there's going to be some ohs, there's going to be some roaring. I'll give you a signal, but you can join me on those parts.
I am resilient. I trust the movement. I negate the chaos and uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. These times are poignant. The winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out front. I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point. Power to the peaceful, prayers to the waters, women at the center, all vessels open to give and receive. Let's see this system brought down to its knees. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm made of thunder, I'm made of lightning, I'm made of dirt, yeah, made of the fine things. My father taught me that I'm a speck of dust and this world's made for me, so let's go and try our luck. I got my roots down, 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 down deep. I got my roots down, 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 down deep. I got my roots down. our roots down, down, down deep.
So what are we doing here? What has been done? What are you gonna do about it when the world comes undone? My voice feels tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty roar. Any note you want. Again.
A mighty roar. I am resilient. I trust the movement. I negate the chaos. Uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll
Close my mouth and learn to listen.
Lelena Romero and her hotness. Come on now. All right. I love it.
All right. Powerful. Yeah, let's give her some more love. Wonderful. Good afternoon. How are you? Good? Happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, you got some green on and some orange for the Protestants among us. Amen. Everybody thinks of the green, but you know it's green and orange. That is in the Irish flag, and it's religiously associated. So I'm wearing both as to represent unity. I am the Reverend David Finley Alexander today, most importantly. Reverend Jean had tried to remind me that it was St. Patrick's Day. I'm like, oh, I'm a Finley. I understand it's St. Patrick's Day, very much so. But I was conflicted about what to wear today because, of course, you know, I chose the Irish colors, but March Madness is going on and the tournaments are happening, and my alma mater, University of New Mexico, won the Western Mountain West Conference championship, so I was very excited for them. So I had a Lobo tie that I was going to wear, but I was like, no, I got to wear my my Irish colors today. But I have my alumni pin on from my university, so representing on all fronts, yeah. Don't sleep on those Mountain West teams when you're filling out your brackets. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm just letting you know. All right. So we are welcome again. My name is David. Pronouns are he and his. Senior director here, and I'm delighted to be with you today as we, part 3 of Seize the Day series. We're kind of highlighting some of the wisdom from the great voices of power from female voices in our movement that have led to this thing called New Thought. And so part 3 today, I'm going to be talking about intuition and listening. So that song was such a perfect lead-in for that. So as we get started with that today, our tools for today are this. The spiritual principle, as always, throughout this series, is the tool of the principle of consciousness. The spiritual law is the law of change. How do we make change in our life? What does that look like? What are the tools and resources that we can use? And we're remembering that the early New Thought movement, as established by the women leaders in the late 1800s and early 1900s, did establish this as a movement of change, not only personal change, but societal change, grounded in the suffrage movement and in liberation in general. So spiritual law of change is what we're all about on the individual and collective level, and the spiritual practice of mindfulness, how to constantly be more reminded of our conscious or sometimes unconscious use of the laws of consciousness, of our thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. And so to become more mindful in that is what we're focused on today. And so as we lean into this theme today of listening and guidance and intuition, I want to remind us as we start out that, you know, every single one of us were born knowing how to trust our instincts. You were born knowing how to trust your instincts. It was innate within you, and it still is. though there may have been some things that have happened in your life that have covered it up or blocked it a little bit, right? But to how to breathe, how to eat when you're hungry, how to how to move, how to dance, how to play, how to create, how to love. And then we grow up and we learn from the environment and the world around us, and we replace many of these primal understandings of how to navigate in the world and how to just be our authentic selves with negative false beliefs, with fear and shame and self-doubt from times that we perhaps were being our authentic self when we felt criticized or judged, or the world did not respond, and literally we're imprinting from the very beginning, right? Did the face respond the way we expected it would, right? So all of this stuff is kind of going on in our programming from a very early age. I said earlier on in the series that pattern recognition is the key to our mental liberation. As we learn to recognize patterns, both of how we got to be the way that we are, but also recognizing patterns on how to get free as well. Right? Where our blocks are, where our limitations are. That pattern recognition is something, again, that's also built into our brain development. It's built into our instincts. It's built into who we are as human beings, and has led to our survival as a human species. But it's also key to recognizing mental patterns, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the things that get in our way, all of those things, that recognizing those things are key to our spiritual liberation as well. But when we grow up in a world where we're being imprinted by all these things, and self-doubt and fear and judgment and criticism is coming in, and we're imprinting those things, and those things are interfering with the pattern of our innate self, then we have some level, and all of us have some level of emotional or physical pain that comes with our upbringing, and we perhaps numb out in some way. And there's a great book. It's a female author, I forget the name, her name right now, but the book is called Soft Addictions. Soft Addictions. And she also wrote another book called The One Decision. The One Decision. And they're both really great books. And the book Soft Addictions is all about the ways in which we numb out in the world. And it's, as the title would indicate, the kind of the not the big things, right? We think of the big addictions like, sex and drugs and, alcohol and things like that as being, big behavior patterns that get in our way. But the soft addictions are, the Cheetos and the TV and the, right, and the little things, the small things. And you think, oh no, that's not, that's just, my thing that I do, And her book, it's difficult to read because she really brings it home, and she's like, no, we all are doing something, probably many things that are ways of numbing out and checking out. And the beauty of the book, spoiler alert, sort of towards the end, is that ultimately it's okay. Again, it's about pattern recognition. It's not about feeling bad about any of those things, right? But it's about recognizing the patterns and then saying, well, what is it that I'm trying to cover up in this moment? What is it that I'm trying to avoid? What is it that I'm trying to, what's really happening here? And getting underneath that and figuring out where we can release and free up some of that stuff so that we're not trapped in too much of it. Very brave and powerful work that she's written there about that. So, but here's the thing. So all that's going on, right? So we have all that stuff going on within us, but then we also have this incredible thing called our intellect. And we have this incredible thing, as we understand as spiritual beings, this mind, this not just our mind, which is our use of the larger intelligence of the universe. We have this mind intelligence, and we have this capacity within our intellect to figure things out. Have you noticed that you know how to figure things out, right? Like even when it's challenging and even when it's difficult, and maybe especially when it's challenging and difficult, there are certain situations where, time and pressure and situations crash upon you, and something rises up with you and you say, by golly, I can figure this out, right? Right after I look it up on YouTube. Or that's part of how you figure it out, right? But there's something within us that says when life throws us for a loop, when we're confronted by situations that are challenging, there's something within us that can figure it out. But what happens when we can't figure it out? What happens when we keep running up against that wall? What happens when the pattern is showing us that we don't have it all in our intellect? That in those moments, have we forgotten that we can tune in to a deeper intelligence within us, an intuition that transcends our intellect and our understanding and allows us to something that is beyond YouTube or Siri or Alexa or any of those other things, right? And allows us to dive in. The other day I was showing William, we have some encyclopedias on our bookshelves, and we like them because we like the binding color, and we put them there because it's decorative. And but there's also a practical tool too, which is as he gets older, when it's time to turn off the TV and the devices and all the things, and perhaps if a punishment of some kind, quote unquote punishment of some kind, is required, the answer is going to be go pick a book, go pick one of those red ones or one of those gold ones, and the red ones are the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the gold ones are the the what? The World Book, yeah, the World Book. So we got, with all the years and everything. So we got both of them. It's like, pick a side, pick a book, open it up, write an essay or a paragraph or whatever it is about whatever you find. So he was fussing about reading the other day. And so I took him to my office and I showed him, all my books. I said, it's really important to, he's a very good reader. He just doesn't like to do it. I said, it's all these books, that I've read, it's very important. Anything that you want to study, you're going to need to know. And I'm realizing as I'm saying it to him, anything that you want to study, I'm like, I could already know the answer in his mind is, yeah, there's a thing called the computer. I can look it up on your phone. Like there's all these other ways. So I was like, well, before there was Alexa and Siri and all that. And we went over and I said, let's look something up. What do you want to look up? And we said, like dinosaurs. So, okay, we go to D, and we pulled it out, and I showed him all the information. And he was like, wow. Well, how'd all that get in there? I said, well, somebody had to type all that stuff in there, right? They do the page layout and the whole thing. So anyway, so something beyond all of that, there's a guidance within us that we can tune into. The deep listening of intuition that New Thought is really anchored in as a spiritual tool and practice really comes as a blessing that's given, or a gift that's given to our movement from the women leaders, from the female leaders of our movement. Because if we think about the early 1900s, Emma Curtis Hopkins, who I'm going to talk more about today, and everybody who came after her, Johnny Coleman, who we talked about, Barbara King here in Atlanta, and all the way to today to my friend and Bishop Yvette Flunder, who had to fight against the odds of society around them and all the norms and all the rules that said they couldn't do it because they were a female. They couldn't be a spiritual leader, couldn't be a religious leader, couldn't do this, couldn't open a school, couldn't build here, couldn't build couldn't raise all that money, can't, right? All these obstacles from the norm, from society, right? And yet there was something within them. And without that spiritual tool of listening deeply to that something within you that says that you can, and that says that you will, and says that you're called, and speaks to a vision, right? Then you would never even try. But here we have all of these examples of these amazing women in our tradition who have done so. And in the early days, last week I was talking about a book called Each Mind a Kingdom, and that book talks about how these women began to re-articulate and remind us of the ancient wisdom of the female attributes of the divine. and that everything was not defined as the masculine would have defined God and the process of divinity and all the aspects of understanding divinity, and that they began to take hold and say, well, wait a second, if it is this, then that means such and such, and so our movement is an expression of that. Ernest Holmes says, divine guidance is ours for the asking. The answer to any problem which can ever confront us already exists in the center of our being. The answer to any problem that could ever confront us already exists at the center of our being. Science Mind teaches us that the mind that we speak of is not the individual intellect, but rather that greater mind, that greater intelligence of which we're all a part. The greater mind, the source of all things seen and unseen, that supply that is in the material or manifests in thought form, the greater mind which we turn towards, and from that inward process supplies all the right questions and guidance when we learn how to depend on it. And so that still small voice in us that whispers, how do we do that? How do we find ourselves in a place where when we've run up against the wall, when our intellect can't figure it out? Anybody been there before? Where you've tried everything that you can try, right? I've given it my best, and I've tried this and tried that and fought hard, and now I'm plumb out of ideas, right? Raymond Charles Barker was a student of Ernest Holmes, one of the great leaders in our organization, and he was famous for, when he had a challenge or a problem, he'd go to his desk and sit behind his big desk, and he'd sit down and he'd say, Raymond, you need a new idea. And he'd just sit there in prayer and meditation until, a new thought, new idea came to him. So what is our practice? How do we do that when we think that we don't know how, but Spirit does, right? As my dean in ministerial school, Dr. Clancy Blakemore, would say, when I would say, but I don't know. What are you going to do? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? Or, she would ask me these questions, and I would, my go-to when I was frustrated and nervous and felt put on the spot, my go-to would be, well, I don't know. And she had this great way of just, getting me out of that, which was she would say, okay, I know you don't know, but suppose you did know. Right? It's a great tool. It's like, because she put me at ease with the kind of recognize, oh, okay, I get it that you don't have an answer right now. And she was speaking to my intellect. I get that your intellect hasn't thought that far, hasn't thought it through. You don't have an answer. You're not sure what to choose or whatever. But suppose that you did know. And it opened up this space. Like, oh, suppose there's something within you that already knows. What would that thing say? Right? And then if you respond to that going, well, I don't know. Yeah, I know you don't know. But suppose that you did. Then what? Which is kind of this playful space that we open up, which is like, well, just make it up. Right? Just what? No, you can't make a wrong answer because God is all there is. So just suppose you did know and just fill in the blank. What would you do then? Really quite interesting. And so I want to explore a little bit from Emma Curtis Hopkins and her teaching in just a moment on what to do with that. Before I do that, I want to also notice this pattern that when we read the Gospels, for example, when we read about the life of Jesus, who we follow as a spiritual template because of the great example, whether he truly did all of these things, or these are just the stories that we read about him that were copied in some cases from other stories and other traditions. But regardless, we have this blueprint of the spiritual divine, of this presence and this Christ power that resides within us. And what we see in the template and the pattern of his life, one of the patterns that I've noticed is that there's the external work, which is the going to the temple and tipping over the tables and doing the healing and going out and talking and doing all the external sort of social things, which was all about social justice and reformation. It was all about changing the world and getting people's attention and walking and embodying in this way that was a healing presence. But then, and so that's the public life that we know a lot about, reenact in various spiritual traditions and ways in theology. But then there is the retreat. And there's always this pattern in the gospel, where there's this retreat into the desert, into the mountains, into the quiet place for 30 days, for 40 days, for some period of time. Sometimes with his disciples, often without his disciples, right? Often that even the closest group that followed him was like, I've had even enough of you guys right now, okay? Just give me some space. And there's the retreat. And there's a communion with God, and there's a conversation happening, and there's a depth and a wisdom and a deep listening that's taking place. And then back out to the work. Okay, where are we going next? What are we doing next? And they're traveling and they're doing their thing. And so it's this yin and yang, this in and out. It's not either or. And it's the same pattern in New Thought. There's the inner work. There's the go into your own temple, into your own consciousness, into your own private prayer chamber, into your own awareness and insight about what you're thinking, feeling, and what that means for you. And then there's showing up. Showing up as that, being the demonstration of that in your workplace, in your family, in your community, as you are, us collectively in the community that we live in. It's not, well, there's just the inner work, and if we do the inner work, all the outer things will take care of themselves. No, they take care of themselves because as you do the inner work, you have the insight of what to do on the outer. You follow what I'm saying? You have the insight of what to, so you have the insight as you go into the inner work. Right? Let me make it plain for you. What am I going to have for dinner tonight? You go in and do the inner work. Well, what do I have in the fridge? What do I want? What am I hungry for? What do I got the budget for? And you get your insight. You make your plan. Now, are you done? Are you fed? Is it complete? No, you got to now go do it. You got to go to the fridge, get the stuff, make the stuff. You got to go to the grocery store. You got to go to the restaurant, call the Uber, whatever it is, right? You have to externally do it. So it's always the dance of the inner and the outer. It always has been. We've gotten confused for a while in New Thought thinking that it was only the inner, but it's always the dance of the inner and the outer because God is all that there is. And so we see this pattern. And Emma Curtis Hopkins, one of the profound leader, we call her the teacher of teachers because so many people came to her, including Ernest Holmes as the last student that she had in 1924 when she was living in New York and kind of semi-retired at that point. Ernest Holmes was just beginning, and he had heard of her, and she was a legend at that point in time. And so he came to her privately and said, "Can I be your student?" And she was like, "Well, I'm not sure." Let me see if I'm willing to do this one more time. And they privately met for several weeks, and she taught him her 12 lessons and all of her pattern of teaching. If we were alive in the early 1900s in Chicago, for example, or New York, or any of the San Francisco, any of the places where she traveled and taught regularly, and we were to go to a lecture where Emma Curtis Hopkins was teaching, we would have this very amazing kind of mystical experience because the room would be packed. There wouldn't be an available seat. It would be standing room only. There'd be this buzz and aura. There'd be a pretty good mix, but predominantly females, but a pretty good mix. She had a lot of male students as well, and be standing room only. And she would come in, and the moment that and we know this from people who wrote about these experiences, the moment that she came in and the people saw her, there'd be a hush that would go over the room. There was no music, there was no prelude of any kind. These lectures would happen on Tuesday night or Wednesday night or Sunday morning or wherever they had the time and the schedule to do them. And she would come in, and if it was Chicago and in the winter and she had a fur coat or something else on, that would come off in the back room, either the back of the hall or the side or whatever it would be. But then she would have, imagine, she's on the photo, she's on the far side, early 1900s period clothing, right, with the high collar thing, with the little brooch and her hair up and, the tight, there she is. That's her there, right? So you imagine the kind of style she would be wearing if you saw her full length with the boots, and then she had these long gloves, right? Long white gloves, and she had her book, and it was the book that she only wrote 2 books. All the rest of the things that are published of hers are published by her students after she died from her lecture notes. And so she had a book that had all of her lecture notes in it. And she would walk in, either walk down a center aisle if there was one, or from the side stage up to the front with her hands over her book like this and her long white gloves. She'd get the room's attention. Walk forward. She'd put the glove down and there'd be a podium. She'd put her book down. Take off her gloves. Fold them nicely. Put them there. Open the book. Deliver her lecture. Stunned, silent room, hanging on every word that she said. Close the book. Put the gloves back on, pick up her book, and walk out. That was Emma, okay? And to this day, we're still digesting and diving into, and it's influenced all of these people you see here, the Unity Movement, the Universal Foundation for Better Living, Johnny Coleman, Barbara King, so on and so forth. And so I looked up some stuff on intuition. Wasn't a big word that was used then, but some stuff on listening, and want to highlight some of this for you this morning. So, and we're going to create some context and then go back. We'll begin with this. She says, it would be a good plan for you to listen to the voice of Spirit. Right? Which, who among us has not said that to our teenager? I mean ourselves. Don't you love that? I could just hear it. I could just hear her saying, it would be a good plan for you to listen to the voice of Spirit. You better find God, or I'll make a personal introduction. Oh, okay. Slightly different tone. But let me find this line for you. It would be a good plan for you to listen to the voice of Spirit, no matter if you are riding in the streetcars. You can be listening to what the free Spirit is speaking, as plainly through an earthquake as through the stillness. Only we do not think that we can listen to a voice. Get the page turn. We do not think that we can listen to a voice through stillness. Why is the page not turning? Okay. That's strange. It seems to be stuck. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, here we go. And now I've lost it. Are you all listening? Okay. It would be good for you to listen to the plan of Spirit. You can be no matter if you are riding in the streetcar, you can be listening to what the free Spirit is speaking as plainly as though through an earthquake or through the stillness. Only we do not think that we can listen to a voice within a sound as well as to a voice within a stillness. Now right there, she's given us something really deep, right? Which is this idea that we think that listening to the voice of God means sitting in stillness, and that that's where the voice of God comes from, that it is only through the stillness that we can hear the voice of God. But she says, you can move about and hear what the free Spirit of God is speaking as plainly through an earthquake as through the stillness. It's only we who think that we cannot listen to a voice within a sound, within the noise of the world, within the chaos of the world. The voice is speaking. But are we listening to that as much as we're listening to the internal? She's already integrating the outer and the inner work, right? She says there is a chance, as she goes on, there's a chance for the most unhappy person among you to breathe out your unhappiness and breathe in the description of the things you are glad about, until you hear the finer voice of nature, till you see the finer side of all things. You get above the ideas of the world. You get above the ideas of the world. And she goes on to talk more about that. But I want to stop and talk about this idea of breathing out our unhappiness and breathing in our description of the voice, our description of the things that we are glad about. I'm going to skip over that one. Breathe in the description of the things that you are glad about. Now, you got to go back in context a little bit here to figure out what she's talking about, but I want you to just hang on to that phrase for just a moment as I give you a little bit. A little bit further back, she says, we must get free from our ideas. God is the freedom of ideas. God is freedom of ideas. God is the free substance of that which penetrates and pervades all things. If you are afraid to do something because somebody might not like it, then you are tied to their idea. You might do what is right for you to do because you are pleased with what is right. You have not learned, if you do not do that, then you have not learned the 12th lesson. This is in a book where she's describing her 12th lesson. The 12th lesson is called The Crown of Glory, and it's all about Christ consciousness. She says, you are not happy if you are not free. You must begin the description of the perfect world in which you live. You must begin the description of the perfect world in which you live. You are glad that the free spirit is flowing through the air. Tell it you are glad. And she goes on to repeat this pattern here. You know, every once in a while I read Ernest Holmes and I wonder why, as a tradition, as a movement, as a philosophy, as a movement of people, as a church movement, that we're not shouting people. Right? You ever read something so good in the textbook? What do we call the textbook in Ernest Holmes? Like, I read something sometimes and I'm like, ooh, that is so good. Like, I know he wrote that. Whether he wrote it out, you know, pen and paper, or had it typed out, or whatever it was, and he had to stop after that sentence and run around the room a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that is so good. Like, how are we not shouting people, you know, as a prayer? So if you feel a shout coming on, I just want you to know. Because when I found this, I thought I went even further into, well, why aren't we a shouting people? Because she's given us instructions. Watch it. She says, you must begin the description of the perfect world in which you live. You are glad that the free spirit is flowing through the airs. Tell it you are glad. You are glad that there is a way to speak to the spirit to bring it into your being. Tell it you are glad. Somebody say, tell it you are glad. Tell it you are glad. You are, your neighbor is a beautiful soul. Tell her soul mentally that you are glad that it is so beautiful. The skies are lovely. Their loveliness is spiritual. Tell their loveliness how glad you are that they are visible to you. The stars resting across the black bed of wonderfulness, their wonderfulness is spiritual. Tell them how glad you are that it is visible to you. Tell them you are glad. She goes on and on to repeat this pattern. She says, though you stand on bare ground, there is a mind whispering rich secrets to you. You need not be lonesome. The Christ is whispering that every instant something wonderful in your ear. It would be a good plan for you to listen to the voice of Spirit, no matter if you are riding in the streetcars or listening. You are listening to the free Spirit speaking as plainly through an earthquake as through the stillness. And so again, we go to this. We breathe out your unhappiness. Breathe in the description of the thing that you are glad about till you hear the finer voice of nature, till you see the finer side of all things, until you get above the idea of your world. And then I'm going to close and dive down on that last piece, because that last piece is so good. But I want to stop here and say, now what does this idea of describing what you are glad about have to do with intuition and listening? You may well wonder. Tell him, Rev. Because if you are not describing what you are glad about, then you are describing something else. And if you are not describing what you're glad about and you're describing something else, you're describing the pain and the chaos and the frustration and the loneliness and the lack and the limitation and the awfulness of the world, then how are you able to listen to the voice of Spirit unless you are describing? You understand what I'm saying? Your description of the world comes from your listening. If all you hear, if all you hear is the negativity of the world, then how are you describing? So she says, you got to begin by describing what you're glad about. Now remember, she says you can hear the voice of God through an earthquake as well as you can through the stillness. So it's not about, well, I don't pay attention to negative conditions. God is speaking in the negative conditions, but what are you describing? As the midst of the conditions are happening, as the chaos in the world is doing what it's doing, what are you describing? Are you hearing that there's actually good news in that? That there's actually a way of seeing that in a positive way, that there's a blessing in the midst of those things. That's not about glossing over it and saying, oh, all I see is God is good all the time and I don't see pain or poverty or disease. Instead, it's saying, no, I see those things and I hear the voice of God in them. There's something in that for me to hear and to get so that I can describe the gladness that we are here to produce, that we are here to do together, that we are here to create together, that we are here to be together. And in that, there's a deep listening. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, let me really give it to you now. She says, then you get above the ideas of your world. You are free from them. You get above even the idea of freedom. You get above the ideas of the world when you get into this listening and describing what you're glad about. Listening and describing what you're glad about. You get above the ideas, because remember she says God is the freedom from ideas. God is the free substance that moves between ideas, but it's not attached. It's not locked down to anything. And she dives down on that right here. You get free from them. You get above the idea, even the idea of freedom. You see, the idea of freedom takes with it the idea of bondage of some kind. You are neither bound nor free. You are not on that plane. You do not talk about riches and when she's saying you here, she's saying the real you, the spiritual you, your spiritual identity, you. You are not on that plane. You do not talk about riches, for that idea conveys the idea of poverty. You are neither rich nor poor. You do not live on that plane. You do not say that you have dominion over all things, because the idea of dominion is the same idea of that somebody is inferior in some way. You are neither inferior nor superior. You do not live on that plane. The Spirit never gets caught on any of those hooks. It is not inferior to your understanding, nor superior to it. The Spirit is one with you and with your understanding. So the Spirit has no dominion over you, and it is always one with you. You do not talk about destroying your temper. You have no temper to destroy. You do not talk about getting free from poverty. You have no poverty to get free from. You are not on that plane. That insight can only come from a deep well of listening. Listening not only to your inner world, to your inner guidance, to the inner spiritual truth within you, but also to what's happening in the world. Listening to that earthquake, listening to that chaos, listening to the war, listening to all of those things. Not listening to the drama of it, but listening to the Spirit, the voice of Spirit that is within it, that is seeking to get your attention. This doesn't have to be this way. This doesn't have to be that way. These conditions don't have to exist. The reason we don't like looking at it, the reason it causes us pain, the reason it makes us uncomfortable is because it's not supposed to be. But if we can't hear that, then we can't change that. If you can't hear through the discord and the dis-ease and the discomfort of your own life's conditions, your life or the life of the world that we're living in, if you can't hear within that it's not supposed to be that way, if all that you hear is that it is that way, then you're not really hearing the voice of God. If you can't hear that, then you can't change that. You have the ability to change it, always, everything that you're going through. You have the ability to make it better, to shift it, to go to more blessing, more beauty, more wholeness. But you can't make that shift unless you first hear that the pathway exists for you. The pathway exists for humanity to find peace. The pathway exists for humanity to find love and abundance and a joyful sharing of resources. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. As I invite the practitioners to join me in a prayerful consciousness, I invite you to take a breath. Follow the guidance of Emma Curtis Hopkins. Breathe out any unhappiness. Breathe out any discomfort. Breathe out any just surrender it, let it go. And then breathe in the description of that which we are glad about. I am glad to be in this service today. I am glad to be in community. I am glad to be alive. I am glad to have this breath in my body. I am glad to have this moment of prayerful consciousness with you. I am glad for the opportunity to speak and anchor and know the truth of myself and therefore the truth of all living beings within the sound of my voice. That there is a divine harmony and wholeness that seeks to express itself in the world through every condition, circumstance, and way of being, and it is knocking at the door of our consciousness right now. It's a vibration of wholeness and of joy and of beauty and of love. It is filled with divine guidance. It knows exactly what to do and how to do it. We just need to be still and listen. And then we need to move and keep listening. Be still and listen. And then move and keep listening. And back and forth and in and out in the ebb and flow of this spiritual dance, so that we indeed do seize the day, seize the opportunity, seize the moment to be our best selves, to bring forward our greatest ideas, to bring forward the greatest love in our relationships, to bring forward the greatest prosperity in our experiences, to bring forward the greatest health and well-being in our physical temples, to bring forward the greatest opportunities of peace and joy and harmony in the world. It's all within us right now. It's all made available infinitely. Happy are we if we see this, feel this, sense this, know this. And by accepting it, commit the body temple, the mind, the activity of our world into that action, into taking place, into doing what is ours to do. Feel that integration taking place as you exhale again. This is the divine destiny of our soul. It's the divine destiny of humanity in every moment. But we have to choose it. We have to become more conscious of it. And so for this day and this way of doing that together as spiritual community and the broadcast that's going out, giving the opportunity for others to do so as well and join us in this consciousness, I am truly grateful and thankful. I release this word knowing that it's already done. And the greater experience is already ours, and we are having it now. And so it is. Peace and blessings. Yes. Thank you. Thank you to our practitioners who are prayed up and steeped in this consciousness. They're available to you for one-on-one prayer after the service, as well as appointments by phone or in person throughout the week. So you just reach out to them and let them know that you want their support. And they're also available online. I know they're making themselves available in the chat. We're grateful for them as well. All of our practitioners here and non-locally as well. Time for our circulation. Speaking of gratitude and grateful hearts and grateful giving, let's move into that joyful time to take a breath once again and to describe what we're glad about. I am glad that the abundant resources of Spirit are filling and fulfilling all of the needs and obligations of this spiritual community, to pay our staff and to fulfill our budget requirements and press down and overflowing to more, to circulate out into the community and do greater good for every individual who feels called to share the abundance of their life with us in any amount, in any measure, in any way. We have our text to give. We have boxes in the room for dropping off cash and checks, and our QR code, all of the ways. Let's hold the gifts. If you are part of that monthly group that has it set up, it's automatically happening as part of your life. Don't let it be on autopilot. Be consciously aware of it right now. Is it in balance with the good that's flowing into your life? Do you have the capacity to do more? Do you have the capacity to shift or change anything about that giving so that it is a synchronistic vibration with your life, that it is a flow that reciprocates the gratitude that you feel for this moment, the gratitude that you have for this community, and that is in balance with the needs of this community? If so, we invite you to do that. And if it's right where it needs to be in this moment, we give thanks for that. We're glad for that. Feel that gratitude in your heart as we bless all of these gifts with these words. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Blessings.
Blessings. Rev D, thank you so much. Will you join me as we celebrate this? Put a bow on it. Sing with me. Come on your feet. Come on now. If it feels good to stand, please do so. I welcome you. Have a great afternoon, everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. Yeah, we do. We see a world that works for everyone. Everyone, 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 yeah. We hope you'll join us downstairs, and make sure you stay and be with Tony as he celebrates the uncomfortable. You may want to talk with Tony and be with us this afternoon after service. We're going to have some food and fellowship, then we're going to get together with Tony, all right? One of our delightful practitioners. You can ask him anything. You can ask him any question you want. We're so glad you decided to be with us this afternoon.